welcome to another edition of Sideline Sports, joined by Jake Malik, John Shear, Dave DeRoche, and of course me, JB Ellis, the man who will not be eating as you see the three of these guys going crazy with their food.
Dude, we had a discussion about this on the show.
Deal, man.
Like, I object.
All right, so first of all, Dave, you got the shrimp tacos, right?
Got the shrimp tacos. I told you it's Taco Tuesday for me out here. It's dinner time. Us old linemen, man, we don't let nothing get in front of our food. But just like back in the 80s, I started the mullet. I'm a trendsetter. So now,
absolutely.
And if you need pictures, I'll show you. I was before Billy Ray Cyrus. I'd actually go to the hairdresser. I said, I love my hair long, but can you cut the top like real short? And they'd look at me and go, really? I don't think I can do that. I'm like, no, that's what. And then the next question is why? It's because I play football and I want long hair, but I don't want it in my eyes,
Fair enough.
And every hairdresser for like 2 years. So anyhow, now I'm doing tacos. Now John says, man, I want to look like Dave. I'm going to start eating them.
I have to gain quite a bit of weight.
John, so what are you eating? What is your snack today?
Man, I got a soft pretzel.
John!
There. Yeah.
I got pretzels too.
I got a soft pretzel, like a nice
But we're on the same page. I like this.
I got a little chocolate milk going on. Ooh, chocolate milk's good for the soul. So, I got best of both worlds. JB's got nothing. Coffee's great, but gotta have a little food with it.
Here's a pretzel for you. You want it? I guess he doesn't want it. All right. It's too bad.
He's focused on actually doing the show. I mean, we're focused on food and things.
Yeah, sorry guys for screwing up your whole agenda with turning this thing into now a foodie channel.
Kidding me? We used to
5 minutes in and we're talking about pretzels and tacos. Sorry.
Hey, pretzels and what else are good things?
Sports can wait. I mean, this is food, man. Like, this is a way to a man's heart.
Absolutely. Well, all right. Well, I want to take a minute and our producer JT, I know you have something, so give me a minute. Let me say what I have to say, because today, JT, you came on, you asked me. It's a great day. You asked me how's my day. My day is great because the New York Rangers. No, not you, JT. You're not JT. You're John. The New York Rangers, my lovely hockey team, decided to make my day because a couple weeks ago we traded for Vladimir Tarasenko, and I said, all right, we're out on Patrick Kane, and I'm okay with that. But JT, can you do me a favor and put up what we were talking about just a moment ago? That's right. Patrick Kane is now a New York Ranger. That is correct. He is bringing his talents to Broadway, and I couldn't be happier because the Rangers paid basically nothing. They paid a conditional second that will turn into a first in 24 or 25 year of our choosing.
For one of the greatest American-born players in the history.
We get to choose the year, by the way, as to which year we give up that potential first if we make it to the conference finals. We gave up that. We gave up a third-round pick to the Coyotes for them to take some of the salary for Kane while the Blackhawks take some as well. And I think we gave like a fourth as well. It's a great day.
Multiple Stanley Cups. Yeah. I mean, part of that dynasty in Chicago with the Blackhawks, with Jonathan Toews.
Over 1,200 points.
Brent Seabrook, all of them fantastic players in Chicago. That dynasty was a force to be reckoned with in the mid-2010s, early 2010s. They were a force. He's just one of the greatest American-born players of all time. He might be the greatest. I'm not going to say he is, because that's up for debate. I mean, you got a lot of great American-born players, but he's one of the greatest, and you can make a case for him being the great, because he's just meant so much to hockey, bringing hockey back to relevancy. Him and Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin really brought hockey back when it was kind of dead.
And this is just a glorious day. Chris Drury, our lovely GM, I just want to tell you, if you're watching or you're listening, I love you so much. And thank you. Because the Metropolitan Division has turned into an arms race. And, John, your lonely team and the Canes are just sitting there doing nothing, and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, you and the Devils have just decided you're going to do a whole bunch of crap. While we're going to do absolutely nothing. So that's just fantastic. We'll just do what we always do, get to the second round, and then we'll just forget how to score goals, and we'll be out of it.
It's fun. The Rangers just added two of the greatest players in the last 15 years, John, 10, 15 years.
Why not?
I mean, they're just this is a great day. So that's all. I wanted to make a mention of that. I'm happy. It made my day.
We do have a guest in about 5 minutes. We have a special guest coming on.
We do.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm already here.
I
I
don't know
like
what's
it.
happening. I
Dave,
have
you're past guest. That Dave,
Right.
you're stuck with us now.
Oh.
I'm so confused, but okay.
Who's this guest we have?
Are you allowed to tell us?
Well,
like-
I mean, the combine's coming up, the draft's coming up. We got to have people on to talk about it.
Yeah,
JB's going to be out there covering the combine, but he's
That's
not
correct.
the only one. And our guest will be talking about the combine and the draft in about 5 minutes.
I have no idea. Well,
You'll find out.
all right. Well, let's start talking about the combine then, shall we? And the draft and such. Because I've heard rumblings, and I'm curious to get your opinions. The Bears might be trading the number 1 overall pick. That there's rumblings that they're leaning towards doing so. It doesn't mean they will, but they're heavily considering it. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this move. Do they trade it or do they not? What do you guys think? I'll throw to JB. I'll throw to you first.
So you have your franchise quarterback in Justin Fields.
Mm-hmm.
So the number 1 pick, where are you going to go with that? What other need is worth the number 1 pick? If you can get a lot more in return for it, rather than be forced to take somebody that you're not high on, I would make the trade. The only way I'd use that number 1 pick is if there's somebody that they feel that they have to have in that spot. So I like the idea of trading it. Bill Belichick's a genius when it comes to the draft and created that whole rating system, which you can find online and see what the value is for all these different picks. And he makes late round picks so valuable. So
That's
you don't
true.
always have to have that number 1 pick to get the best guy. So I'm not opposed to it at all.
Okay. Well, I want to get Dave real quick. What is your thoughts on this potential trading?
I'd have to agree with JB. I mean, I don't know, frankly, even who's on the board. I haven't even looked at it to see, what players are there. And I don't remember watching the Bears game for the last 10 years. So I don't even know.
They weren't very.
What they need.
Yeah.
They're a dumpster fire.
They were a dumpster fire.
Well, well, there you go.
But JB's moving to Chicago, so there you go.
He'll have to deal with that garbage. And John, real quick, what are your thoughts? And then we can introduce our guests.
I mean, the Bears should absolutely move back. I've always been a proponent, unless you have a generational guy like a Peyton Manning that Trevor Lawrence, that is a can't-miss prospect. And I call him can't-miss. Some people, they don't like that term, but I call guys that you look at them and you just know.
They're going to be.
Can't-miss prospect. Yeah. If you have an Andrew Luck type of prospect, okay. Joe Burrow, okay. Tua, when he came out, everybody was like, he should have been the number 1 pick before the injury. Everybody, he was a consensus number 1
before the injury. That's fair.
But
fair.
Guys like that you are sold on, you're like, I know.
Yeah.
But unless you have that, which you don't have that this year, I'm okay with moving back, gaining in as much capital as you can. I'd move back 5 or 6 times if possible.
I would
just
too.
Keep gaining draft capital.
I would move back a couple
not?
spots. I would say in the first round, but I would move back as well. And then real quick,
keep moving back. See who's going to give you something, and just
but before we move on to to our guest, I just wanted to. I saw this today. And I thought it was really interesting that since 2011, 6 teams have traded into the top spot, and 5 of them have drafted a quarterback. In 2012, it was RG3 to Washington. In 2016, it was Jared Goff to the Rams. In 2016, it was Wentz to the Eagles. They were 2nd overall, but moving to that top spot, towards that top spot. 2017, Mitch Trubisky, and then 2018, Sam Darnold, and then most recently Trey Lance. I've noticed a weird pattern though. None of these quarterbacks are particularly phenomenal when you draft up, when you trade up. Like Trey Lance, I will hold my comments.
Right.
We have no idea. But is it just me, or when you hear that, does it sound like maybe trading up to get the quarterback isn't necessarily like the end all be all like it seems to be? Like maybe should they just not trade up?
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe that's a question for Joe DeLeon.
That's a good segue. You're welcome,
Joe
John.
DeLeon? Well, we're
I
about
don't
to
know.
tell you.
Yeah, please tell me because I didn't know about this.
JT, bring him in.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Joe DeLeon, our special guest from the Believe Network. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Doing great. Got a lot of craziness going on this week with the NFL Combine coverage and everything that's about to happen this weekend. But excited for it. Just another one of the great events that makes the NFL draft exciting to follow.
So, what do you think about this Bears situation that we were just speaking on behalf of?
Yeah, I think that for them circumstantially, the best thing for them is to trade out of the spot. You have a young quarterback in Justin Fields who I think has shown a lot of positive signs, but at the same time, even if you think that he's not the guy and you want to move on, hitting that reset button on a new quarterback with nothing around him only prolongs the current situation that they're in. Justin Fields is not the issue. I would argue that he's probably one of the more talented people on that roster currently. They don't have very good offensive line. They don't have very many weapons that they can get him that he can get the ball to, except for maybe Chase Claypool. There are so many massive holes for that Bears roster, and they're given a unique opportunity for a year of having a lot of quarterback desperate teams that didn't get their guy last year, and now they're stepping into a situation where they can maybe get more picks than usual for that first overall spot with the amount of teams that might trade up to number one. So use those picks, build the roster, build out the rest of this team, and that's probably going to be the best for the organization instead of drafting a CJ Stroud or a Bryce Young and starting from scratch.
So let me ask you then, who should trade up? Who is, I mean, and I say that because there's plenty of options that I could totally see. Hey, they're going to go up and get CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, one of the two. Who do you think should be the guys that say, hey, let's go get our guy at number one?
Yeah, I think that there's a few teams that we can look at that realistically can do that. I think that the Las Vegas Raiders are one to consider. Right now, I think Chase Garbers is the only quarterback that they have on the roster. And I know that there's the possibility that they maybe try to go make a move for somebody in free agency, but that we know this organization doesn't have any money. They are not in a good spot financially, and they're probably going to need to really, really push pause on trying to be in a win now spot because of that. The best way you can do that is trading up, drafting a quarterback, and then kind of let the weak seasons that they're going to have over the next couple of years endure it, and then hopefully they can dig themselves out of that financial situation.
If that's the case, let me ask you.
Yeah.
What do you do with Devontae Adams? Because yes, I could see you having a young quarterback in Devontae. Totally makes sense to me. I understand it. Mm-hmm. But also you could probably trade him and get crazy value. What do you think they do if they are the team that you say, hey, let's go get that quarterback?
Well, that's an even better spot for them to be in. It's not like with Derek Carr where it was kind of difficult to create trade value. We know how good Devontae Adams is, and you could actually almost recoup some of your value of if you have to trade up to go and get that first overall pick, you can acquire more picks to not really lose anything to go up to that spot. So, I mean, heck, I would even put that in the discussions with the Chicago Bears of trying to move up if they're interested and if Devontae is willing to go there. But I think that you got to move on from him as well. Again, I think this organization is just in such a difficult spot financially that starting from scratch is probably the best for them. But outside of that, I think the Atlanta Falcons are a sneaky team to pay attention to because I don't like Desmond Ridder as the long-term answer. They just got rid of Marcus Mariota. I think that Ridder is more likely a long-term backup than the answer as the starting quarterback. And then in addition to that, the Indianapolis Colts, they don't want to miss out on their guy. They only have to move up a couple of spots. And then the last one I think that makes the most sense is the team picking at number 2. If they're in love with somebody, the Houston Texans should not let another team beat them out. I know that it actually kind of stinks for them that they're in this situation because they might get baited into trading up when they could have very well have had the guy that they wanted had Lovie Smith not won that last game.
But Joe, I mean, they could easily have Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. They'll get their pick of one of them at 2. So you really don't have to trade up because, okay, you don't get one at 1. You still get the other one at 2. And I feel like they're not interchangeable, but I feel like they kind of sort of are interchangeable. I mean, you know what I mean? It's not a steep drop off from one to the other.
But that's you, John.
That's just me. I mean, what do I know? I only watched football since I was like 2, but what do I know?
But how
that's why you're not a GM.
Look back at what the Giants did with Daniel Jones and Gettleman. I mean, Gettleman had to have him.
Gettleman's also an idiot.
Yes, correct. But you don't know. The people in Houston, they may be stuck on one of their guys and not want the other one for whatever reason. You don't know.
But it wouldn't cost you draft capital, though, to just sit there and be okay with the other guy.
But here's the thing.
Do you want to trade the farm just so you can get your guy?
But they're not going to trade the farm because they'll be able to swap the number 1 and the number 2 because they know the Bears can say, okay, we got the number 2 pick. We'll still trade that away. They're trading down. So they'll have to give them something, but they have to give them a lot less when they say, well, here's the number 2 pick. It's still pretty large value back to the Bears by swapping those picks. So I don't think.
No, I meant for the Texans. The Texans are going to have to trade a lot.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying to give that to the Bears. I'm saying for the Texans to say, here is the number 2. The Bears aren't losing this ridiculous value. It's not like they're going from 1 to 10. They're going from 1 to 2.
Oh, no. The Bears are in a great spot.
That's what I'm saying. So you say you don't want the Texans to give up the farm. I'm saying they don't have to. In order to get that number 1, and then to JB's point, I agree. There's a guy they want. You cannot sit at number 2 and just say, well, I hope he drops.
Well, if I'm the Bears and the Texans call me and say, I want to jump to 1, like you're cutting your arm off to get to that number 1 spot. I'm sorry you are. You're going to lose one of them arms. You're not keeping all your limbs. That's just me.
Right. That's part of the debate of, do you really want to have to trade and part with some picks? And I think in any other year, that swap and that move up is not going to net that much. But because the Bears can easily just say to the Texans, like, hey, if you're not going to give us the same value as some of these other teams, we're going to hang up the phone. We're going to go to some of those other teams. So I totally understand both angles. It just all depends on, do the Texans not want to miss out on that opportunity to get somebody that they're in love with if they have similar grades? And the other thing that gets tricky with Bryce Young and CJ Stroud is they're completely different. The other thing, though, is I do know for a fact that the Texans are not big fans of Bryce Young, so they might also think that Will Levis might be. Yeah, they might also though think that Will Levis might be the first overall pick, and if they want to get Will Levis, and if the Bears can talk him into it, that might also come into play. So I think there's going to be a lot of bargaining here. The Bears are kind of being a little coy about it, where they're like, we are interested and we're willing to trade the pick, but we're not necessarily going to do it or not, because they still do want teams to think that they might take a quarterback, because that also heats up the market.
I mean, I think the truth is, to that point, if they do draft a quarterback, okay, trade either that quarterback that you draft or trade Justin Fields if you really think that this quarterback you draft is so great. The Bears, I think, in all of this, probably in the best situation. There's no losing situation as far as if I'm the Bears. I don't lose. There's no way I can lose this situation at all. At the end of the day, I'm getting something good.
Bears thought that same thing, and then they trade up to get Mitch Trubisky and skip Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson.
That's
so,
different.
Let's not necessarily say that. I mean,
but there's a big difference. Hold on.
We've seen two generational talents get passed up for,
there's this is
Mitch Trubisky.
I think this is a different situation, and I'm sure everybody else would agree that they have the number 1 pick. If they trade the number 1 pick, they get great value. If they draft a quarterback, they can then get great value for Justin Fields or whichever quarterback they draft. They don't lose in terms of what they can get back at the end of the day. They're going to recoup plenty no matter what happens. And that's why I say that. I don't mean that their future is perfect, but I mean what they'll get back in terms of a trade, it's going to be phenomenal no matter what they do.
So we have Joe DeLeon from the Believe Network here. So Joe DeLeon, and I'm saying your name right?
Yes, you are. You've got it right.
All right. All right. So Joe DeLeon, let me ask you this. How much does Anthony Richardson play into all this wild card guy? This is kind of like Baker Mayfield. Nobody really knew where he was going to go. And then all of a sudden Baker Mayfield went 1, jumped to the top of the board, went 1. It's kind of the same thing with Richardson. Like, what are you hearing, or what do you think about him and where he's going to go? And is anybody sold on him going all in? Mm-hmm. You think they're going to jump up to that 1 spot per se, and be like, he's my guy. We have to have him, because he kind of looks like Lamar Jackson, but a lot more raw than Lamar was at that point in Lamar's draft.
Yeah, and I think there's a big difference between him and Lamar in terms of those physical traits and his arm and talent that he brings to the position. He's very raw, but I almost don't like the word raw for him. He's inexperienced. He has played only 1 full season as a starter, but he's got all these tools, and he's got so many flashes on film of him having that capability to be an elite player. And we're not just talking about a guy who can be an average starter at best. That's what gets complicated with Anthony Richardson. You're either getting someone who becomes a top 10 player in the NFL, or you get somebody who doesn't take a single snap in the NFL and is gone in a few years, which is why it's a little frightening to select a guy like Anthony Richardson. But I think if he's put in the right situation, he has not only the raw physical traits, but you see a guy who some of his best plays evades pressure really, really well. He's got the frame and the size to handle and take heavy pressure, but the arm strength is silly at times, with an ability to just fit the ball into tight windows when he's got no room to operate, when he's off platform, kind of a little bit of that Patrick Mahomes-esque style of throwing that we see and that everyone is in love with nowadays and everyone tries to replicate but can't find. I think that this kid has so much talent, but I don't know if a team is going to be willing to trade up to first overall for him. I think that all the betting odds changing for him is just a reactiveness to the media talking about him a lot more. I really don't foresee a team drafting him first overall, because I think that a lot of times, especially these teams that are going to be trying to start over and that are picking in those spots, they're mortgaging their future on a guy like that if that's their only option. If a team already has a quarterback in place that's a bridge guy, it at least gives a different team a cushion. So I think first overall might be a little rich for me, but I have him ranked as my third quarterback, and I'm willing to take him after Stroud and Young are off the board.
Fair enough. JB, do you have any questions?
So if the Bears don't trade the number 1 pick, who would you say that would be the best option for them?
For the Bears, if they stay in that spot, I think that if you either take Will Anderson or Jalen Carter, you've accomplished a lot. And I think that it's one of the few years where I can't decide between who I think is the better prospect. It's just a matter of who you want more. Do you want an edge rusher or do you want a defensive tackle? One would argue that edge has a little bit more positional value. So for that sake of the argument, Will Anderson, I think, would be the more likely pick in this circumstance. But with Will Anderson, you're getting just a very powerful, high motor edge rusher who's going to be incredibly productive early on in his career. And then Jalen Carter is just a space-eating monster that is unblockable. He is immovable on double teams, which is just such a rare thing to find. But he's got the twitchiness and the flexibility to be a freaky pass rusher, which you just don't get with defensive tackle prospects like Jalen Carter. So I think either of these guys are going to be, actually both of them are going to be competing for Defensive Rookie of the Year. I think there's a significant drop-off between them and the next best defensive player on this board. But either way, I think it's one of the few instances where we can sit here and say, take whoever, and one of them is going to be an all-pro.
Very
So
cool.
there's no wrong answer.
Exactly.
Okay. I like it. So you're basically what I'm hearing, which is what I said before, John. And you tried to tell me, well, I don't know, but the Bears have a bright future basically no matter what they do. You know, in terms of the potential of their future, not guaranteed, but
true. I mean,
the potential
it is, Chicago,
is all there,
so,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think that, Joe, do you agree that that's a fair statement, though, that there's a pretty bright future for Chicago no matter what they do?
Well, assuming that they're still in a range to pick one of these two guys, there's a possibility that they trade outside of the top 10 and then they reach on somebody. So there's just a lot that can happen. So, like, yes, in theory, I totally agree with you that they hold all the cards to create a bright future, but they still need to make the right picks. You know, they still need to make the right decisions in order.
They need a lot of
be
things.
Successful.
That's the problem. The Bears,
exactly.
The Bears are in a tough situation where they need about 100 different things. The only thing they don't need for sure is quarterback, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's where I'm at here. Why I don't want to move on from Justin Fields is that, you know, the one guy that they have kind of an established position is quarterback. So for them to draft somebody, it seems going backwards to take a step forward. Right.
It's a waste of a pick. I agree.
Right.
All right. John, JB, Dave, anything else?
No, that's all the draft questions that I have.
That's what I wanted to talk about
for Joe.
So one more last question just before you run.
Shoot.
So last year, New England made a surprise pick with a quarterback from Western Kentucky towards the end of the draft, and obviously Brock Purdy being Mr. Irrelevant. Any quarterback you could see this year kind of filling into that role where you'd be surprised by what they do or don't do?
Yeah, I think that what set up both of those guys for what they did, their contributions for Bailey Zappi and Brock Purdy, COVID really set them up perfectly for what they were able to do. Those were much older guys. Those were guys that had been around the block for a very long time and were very experienced. We are not going to see for a very long time, or actually maybe even ever, guys that experienced as Bailey Zappi and Brock Purdy. And there was a point in time where Brock Purdy was considered to be a highly draftable kid but because of having it bad last year at Iowa State, that kind of hurt him. So I don't think that there is a guy like that in this class. I don't think that there could be someone who can step into those roles. However, if I did pick somebody, I think that Jake Haener from Fresno State makes the most sense. He really impressed me at the Senior Bowl. He's very consistent. And what I'm looking for, the backup quarterback who steps into a spot like Zappe and like Purdy, is being just even keel, being consistent, keeping your team on schedule. That's what I want from a guy. And I think that Jake Haener fits that description, where he's not going to be too high with a big splashy play. He's not going to be too low by making a stupid decision and turning the ball over. Instead, he's going to pick up those simple, easy 7-yard passes if they open up and when they do open up, but is not going to be someone who can single-handedly beat a defense when asked to do so.
All right. Cool.
Very cool.
All right.
Well, Joe, I appreciate you taking the time. You're
course.
always welcome to come on, and talk about the draft or anything else you're covering. But thank you so much for taking some time to come out here tonight.
Yeah, we
Of course.
truly appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys, for having me. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Show.
Thanks, you
Yep,
too.
see you, Joe.
Well, all this talk and not a single mention of offensive line. I don't know.
You know what?
Haven't we figured this out yet? Everything's one in the trenches.
I was going to say, everything's one of the trenches. Don't we know
Haven't
that
we
by
figured
now?
this out yet? I thought we were supposed to talk about the combine.
Oh, wow. Draft, combine, it's all connected. It's all the same.
Yeah,
But
it's all
if
about
you want
the same.
if you want to talk about the combine for a sec, let's hear your insight, Dave. What is it like as a player?
Actually, no, I don't. It was horrible. So I'll tell you, it was an honor to get invited, and I will tell you, they take it by position. I arrived that night, and it's the first time I walked into a room, and it was average height. So that was odd, and it's not talking a small number of cats either. I mean, it was there was I think 40 or so, 50 maybe offensive linemen. So it was different. I was roomed with Dave Cadigan, who was one of the top picks, went to the Jets. That cat was amazing, man. He ran like a 4.6 or something, and his feet never got like an inch off the ground. For me, it was tough because I had put a lot of effort into it, and I had a chance to play in the Hula Bowl. I think I might have mentioned this on the last show. I got to play in the Hula Bowl with Tim Brown and Thurman Thomas, Icky Woods, and so I was kind of getting some attention, and then I show up to the combine, and I was pretty strong. I've always been pretty strong. And I get this flu. I started vomiting like that afternoon.
Geez.
And I went to see the trainers like at 1 a.m. and trying to tell them. And I was never going to be fast on a 40, but I stumbled up. My legs were just kind of weak. I kind of caught the turf each time. And plus, I'm not a turf guy. San Diego State, we all play on grass.
Grass.
Yeah, it meant to play on grass, not
well, it was the 80s too, so I mean, it wasn't that much turf. So anyhow, being in Indianapolis and doing that, and that was tough. And my bench press was really disappointing. I only did like 26, and just so you know, I did
26
for linemen. I know.
I did 46 like a year and a half later. So I mean, I'm a lot stronger than 26. So that was tough because they predicate so much emphasis on this 1 or 2 days, and you just don't know what the state of mind is of a young man, or if they're sick, or
as I say, in your case, you were sick, so you looked much lower in terms of the talent, if you will. You looked worse than you actually are, and you didn't get to show off who you really were. Yeah,
and they didn't have pro days then, so there's a lot different today. So if you have a bad combine, man, they're all making the loops. These guys are scheduling pro days, and they'll have 7 or 8 teams that are interested in them, and they still get a chance. So it's important, but it's not as important.
Yeah.
But it is pretty amazing. It's very amazing when I'm seeing guys 350 pounds running a 4.9, or 4.8, and the talent that these guys have. It's fun to watch. It's fun to watch. They have it televised now. So that's pretty cool.
It's impressive. All right. Real quick, we do have a guest, but before we get to him, there was a topic that JB you wanted to bring up, and I want to talk about this.
Let's go to the guest first,
because Dave's got to leave in 15 minutes.
I understand, but I don't want to keep Raphael high.
Okay.
Raphael's not a guest; he's part of the show.
Okay.
So, We do have Rafael Esperanza this year. How's it go, Rafael?
Pretty good. I got to give some love to our Mountain West guy on the panel. No one gives any kind of West Coast love, so I got to give some shout out to the Mountain West and San Diego State.
Thank you. You know why, Rafael? Is because we play it at midnight East Coast time.
Oh, and those guys have to get their beauty. Those guys have to get their beauty sleep. But if you look above, they need more sleep.
Yeah, indeed.
So,
what can I say?
So Raphael's going to join us weekly for a quick 5 to 7 minute segment on the long shot of the week. I mean, he does the sports arena with prop bets every week. So we wanted to be a little different. And I always like to bet a long shot. So Raphael's
you
actually
bet on
here to make
everything.
me money.
You bet on everything.
Listen, Raphael's here to make me money right now. So guys, let's settle down. Everyone be quiet and let's start taking notes. Okay?
Raphael, I'm giving you the floor, my man. It's all you.
Well, I guess we can go with combine stuff because I did put up prop bets for the NFL Combine. I mean, Bryce Young weight at the 2023, you can bet over under 197.5 pounds. I think he weighs over that. I'm hearing he's probably going to be anywhere between 199, maybe even 200, as what people say he's walking around right now. If I had to do something on the long shots, they're betting the under so you can get plus money. Most reception. Most repetition on a bench press. They're betting it under right now. It's 39 reps. You can get plus money now on the over at plus 110. So I would take the plus money. I think we'll see someone bench pressing over 39 reps.
How much weight is it, Rafael? Is it 225 still? Or they drop it?
I think it's still 225. I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so they're saying one person at least does 39?
Yeah.
Oh, somebody will.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know why. I don't know why people are betting the under.
Confirmed by Dave. Easy.
I don't know why they're betting the under.
Hey, I'm 58. I can still do 30. Come on.
Oh, all right.
30 more than me.
So that's next week's episode. We're going to see Dave with the bench press
and a taco. A taco.
And a taco, yeah.
No, taco in one hand. He'll be gripping the bar, and he'll have his taco, and he'll just come down and go eat it.
It just
and then put it back
shovel
up.
the meat and the cheese and the lettuce down into his mouth.
Well, we don't know. Hold on, John. Don't assume it's meat. He might be having another iteration of fish tacos. We don't know what Dave's going to have, man.
Potato tacos are great. You know what's funny is how quick we get off topic. Anyways, I'll do a show from the gym. I'll do 30. We'll have to take donations though.
I would bet that. I was listening to your guy before by talking about the draft, and he mentioned Jake Haener from Fresno State, another Mountain West guy, another California guy. But don't sleep on the Stanford guy, Tanner McKee. This guy's beast. He's tall. He's got a nice arm on him. I'm heard he's throwing the ball. I think he gets drafted before Jake Haener from Fresno State. We'll have that matchup on when it gets close to the draft. We'll do head-to-head matchups on who gets drafted first. That would be probably one of the two matchups. What quarterback would be drafted first, Jake Haener or Tanner McKee? I like Tanner McKee. I think he's going to be a nice backup in the NFL.
All right. So real quick, I'll ask Raphael this. In last year's combine, there was 29 reps was the max, but then in 21, 74 max was the rep. 74 reps was the max.
Yes.
And Dave, I'll open it up to you as well. But like, what was the line again, Raphael?
39.
I mean, you think that's probably a good long shot? That's the thing. We're going to go with the long shot of the week here. Somebody's going to break that number.
Now, what's the most you've ever done, Dave?
46.
So
nice.
Yeah.
So Raphael,
I was benching 505 at the time.
Oh my
jeez!
Yeah, so 46.
Not this wussy 225 stuff.
You know what?
500.
It was funny because it was I was just out of the NFL and there was a World League that started up, and turned into NFL Europe. But the first year was called the World League. And
the World League.
Yeah, and me and this guy, now his name's gonna elude me. He's since passed away. We go walking in there, and the scout goes, "Hey, you're Dave DeRoche. You played in Seattle, right?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Don't do anything. We're going to draft you." I said, "Perfect," because I hate running, and I don't do nothing. So Barry Voorhees. So anyways, but we're watching the bench, and these guys are struggling with 225, and they're doing like 16, 18. I'm like, "Hey, Barry, let's do the bench." He goes, "Yeah." So I warm up like with 315. I just put 315 on, do 10 reps, and then put 405, and then so I do 46. I thought I really did something. Barry racks it at 50, and he wouldn't even slow him down. I'm like, come on, bro.
Had
You know
to
what?
show you up.
That bench, there's 3 of them were crickets for like until Barry and I walked away. Nobody wanted anything to do with it, man. They're like, okay, we're good.
They're like, all right, they're better than us at this. So
I'm not lifting
Raphael,
today if I see that.
I missed the
That's
NFL Euro.
I'm not lifting ever.
so Raphael, you think that's probably the best long shot though? That's your pick for us.
I mean, if we're talking about NBA, just the combine itself. I mean, if you're looking for the NFL draft, I like
whatever
Jordan.
you got.
I like
Whatever
Jordan
you're-
Anderson,
Raphael,
the first
what's the
wide
odds?
receiver to go in the NFL draft. You can get him at almost 3-1. I think last time I saw FanDuel had 3-1. Just because I think the Bears, if they trade not once but twice, I think that's going to whack up a lot of the people's mock drafts. And I know a lot of people like Jordan Anderson more than they like Quentin Johnson. So getting him almost 3-1 and be the first wide receiver taken, I would take that nice shot.
What is the deal on the bench? What's the odds on that? The 39.
It's plus 105 right now on the over.
All right.
Not bad.
All right,
Plus
not
money's
bad.
always good.
Yeah,
Plus money is
always
good,
good.
But all right. So those are your long shots of the week. I like it. Do you have any other big long shots? It doesn't have to be football. It could be anything. Just curious if you got anything else for us.
I wish the show was earlier because when they announced Anthony Davis was not playing for night in the Lakers and the number went all the way to plus 10. I love the Lakers. The Lakers team has a lot of nice quality guys from the pickup from the draft and from trading. I thought they would cover that number, and now they're winning up by 2 right now going into the fourth quarter. So I thought that was a nice play. I thought it was way too many points for the Lakers.
Wow.
Too bad. Too bad. So sad.
Raphael, why don't you text us? I mean, come on. We're losing money here.
I was in mourning because I lost my Blackhawks today, and Kane being it. It's just it's going to be so weird.
Sorry,
seeing
not
him.
sorry.
It's going to be so weird. It's like watching Jordan put on a Wizard jersey, watching. It's just a bad.
Well,
day
It is weird seeing Kane in any other.
Yeah.
jersey.
Raphael, I just want to
not
take 2
right.
seconds to say thank you very much. We really appreciate you giving him to us. His services.
They
will be greatly
literally
appreciated.
gave him
Yeah.
in New
to
York.
the Rangers.
In New York, he'll make you proud in New York. I think.
I think we got a slice of thin crust pizza for that trade too.
Yeah, you might.
Nice.
You got New
Maybe.
York style pizza back.
Yeah, I mean, we got
Yeah.
deep dish in Chicago, which is much better than that thin crust. Because
Because
if you fold your pizza, it's a taco. It's not a pizza.
Hey, there's nothing
that
wrong
is-
with tacos.
But I'm just saying, if
True.
you fold your pizza, it's
Oh.
a taco.
Oh, Raphael. I got my new taco for next week.
There we
pizza,
go.
pizza.
See, it's all comes full circle.
See, it's all.
It always comes full circle.
Well, yeah,
So, Raphael, where can people find you?
You can find me over on Twitter at VSI.sports. You can find me on Instagram at Raphael Sparza. You can find all my crazy bets over. You can bet that. I've just put up some Gardens at Galaxy Volume
I
3
saw that.
odds today. Some NFL Combine. I'm working on Joker 2 betting
Love
prop
it.
bets. So I got some crazy stuff coming out, and you can also find me over on Facebook.
Love it.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time. We'll talk to you during the week, and we'll see you next Tuesday for some more
For more long
Great
shots.
long
Hey.
shots.
Take it easy, guys. I can't wait for
Have a
that
good
pizza
one.
showdown next week.
Yeah. Tune in early.
Take it easy, guys.
Have a
Have
good
a
one,
go,
man.
Raphael.
All right.
So, Dave, I know you gotta leave for a speaking engagement in a couple of moments. So,
Yeah.
before the show, we were talking about athletes, really good athletes, either all stars or top in their position or game that played on a team that ended up being where they weren't going to win. Now, Jake asked me a question like, would Patrick Ewing be considered? And I'm going to use Patrick Ewing as a perfect example. The Knicks were always good, but never good enough to win. So it was like his career was wasted. So I'll let you go first because I know you got to run in a few minutes. Who's your guy?
This is a no-brainer. No-brainer. Barry Sanders.
Oh, that's a good
That
one.
poor kid.
Wow.
That poor
It's a very
kid
good
never had a chance. And the reason why he's got so many highlight films is because nobody blocked for him. If he made a yard, it's because he had to avoid 11 guys. He was amazing. And I felt so bad for him. I mean, like hurts, to see that guy, that talent given any team. We could go, everyone did, Marino, he never made it. Well, he had a ton of talent. He broke a bunch of records. He had great, they just couldn't figure it out.
Right.
But Barry Sanders never had a chance.
Sanders was
That
just in a garbage situation and never was
Nope.
going to even have a shot at all. Nothing.
Yeah. So That one, yeah, and so some of these other guys you're gonna be able to name at least made the playoffs. Or did something. They never made it all the way, never got the ring, never got the title. But man, I don't even think they ever had a winning season, and that just makes no sense.
Yeah, that's
they probably did, but I'm just telling you, I just felt bad for that kid every year.
Yeah, that's probably going to be one of the best ones because their team was never good, and he's by far one of the top 2 to 3 running backs in history.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. All right. Well, since Dave, you got to go in a sec, let's do this. Tell people where they can find you real quick, and then we'll continue this conversation when we're done.
Making tacos, man. Every single Tuesday I'm making tacos. And you know what? I'm really hard to find. I'm not as bright as these guys where I have all kinds of acronyms and, different things. And, it's just my name. If you want to find me, just type my name in and you're going to find me. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. We're doing great things. The First and Goal Project's my nonprofit. We're helping people in transition. But more importantly, March 20th, killer celebrity and veterans golf invitational. JB's coming out. We got a lot of people coming out from all over the country. Hall of Fame celebrities, Anthony Munoz, Timo Solani, Byron Scott's it's going to be just cool. And we're raising money for veteran support programs here in Orange County. So support us, get some people out there, and we're going to have some fun.
Absolutely. Can't wait. It's going to be a great day, Dave. Good luck with your speaking engagement tonight. We'll see you next Tuesday.
We'll talk to you during the week.
Peace.
See ya.
Have a good one.
All right.
Get out of here.
And Dave does, Dave does so many, great things.
Everything. He's the man. He's the man. That's how you describe him. He's the man.
It's great being surrounded with great people. To see what Dave does with the charity work.
It's awesome.
It's
great to be involved with that. Not only just because he's a friend and he works with us, but it's great to hear about it whenever we can. You know, I love it. It warms my heart. It makes my day even better than it already was because I already got Patrick Kane to the Rangers because I'm really going to rub that into John's face because I can.
Oh, never.
I really hope that your Rangers fall on their faces like round 1. You would really be in shambles.
Be shocked.
Yeah, I'd be pretty pissed.
All right, John, who do you got?
I feel like I know who John's.
So I was going to go LT, but then I understood your question when you explained it more on the show. Guys that were on teams that never had a chance. So
that's really the premises.
The Chargers had a chance. The Chargers were in the playoffs every year. The Chargers were surrounded by
but he's saying the Chargers were a phenomenal team when LT was there. So
I'm gonna change it up real quick. I'm gonna stay running back. I'm gonna go Adrian Peterson.
Oh, I was thinking about it. He's not my pick, but I was thinking about him.
He was on teams that really there wasn't a whole lot of talent.
No.
I mean, if you remember the year he ran 2,000 yards, he literally carried that team.
He was the only reason they were relevant. If you got rid of him, they would have stunk.
I believe in the playoff game that he got them to by running for over 2,000 and was like 7 yards shy of the record in a season. Joe Webb was his quarterback in that playoff game. Joe Webb, one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen. If you watch that game, there's a reason why that guy never should be in the NFL, never should have played in the NFL. I believe that was his only time because he was awful. They got killed in that game against the Packers, I believe. Adrian Peterson was just so good for so many years. 10 years.
He was the man. It didn't matter where he was either. That's what made him great.
And if he didn't have the injuries and the suspension to hold him back, he breaks Emmitt Smith's record for rushing yards. He was only a little over 3,000 shy of breaking Emmitt's record. And he really only played 11, 12 full seasons, about 12 full seasons, I would say.
He could have had more. You're right.
He could have easily had more. If he played
give him 2.5 seasons.
Easily.
But knowing how good he was in 2.5 seasons, he would have probably broke that.
I mean, if you remember, if you played fantasy football when Adrian Peterson was around, he was so electric. Listen to the announcer that announces Vikings games. He was so electric. So Adrian Peterson's my guy, man.
And John, I'm glad you chose AP because when Dave was speaking, he made me think of somebody. So I originally was going to go Patrick Ewing, but then JB, when we were texting, said, well, no, let's do all sports. And I said, okay. And I was going to go with Henrik Lundqvist, who was the Rangers goalie, but I was thinking about him. And the problem was, to JB, what you said before, you want to talk about guys that never had a chance. The Rangers, now they only made one final, which is funny enough, even more finals than Patrick Ewing made, which is actually 2. But the Rangers had a lot of good teams for quite some time. They just never could get it done. So So for me, I was like, that's not really fair. And I was listening to Dave talk, and he said Barry Sanders. And why didn't I think of him earlier? Megatron, Calvin Johnson. It's ironically all like,
all right. So can we stop talking about Detroit? You can't play in Detroit to be the hits.
But it's true, unfortunately, because you talk about guys that were on terrible teams. 0-16. I mean, he was in his prime, one of the greatest receivers to ever touch a football. And again, I thought about Randy Moss as well, but again, he had chances to win.
Yep,
Megatron never had a chance.
He's on the
Absolutely.
undefeated Patriots
I know.
for a year. Yeah,
you're absolutely correct. And so for me, when Dave said Barry Sanders, I go, Megatron is it, because he never had a chance. Matthew Stafford and him, without Stafford having a ring, I might be more inclined to talk about him. But Stafford eventually got his ring.
He got a ring.
Megatron just, unfortunately retired early. But I mean, he was. And John, you talk about fantasy football. He was one of the best fantasy football players alongside guys like AP, right? I mean, those were the kind of guys when they were playing that you had to get, and he just never got to have that chance in the sun. He never got his opportunity, unfortunately. And he's a Hall of Famer. And that's, I think, to me, says all you need to know about Megatron is he was on terrible teams, including an 0-16 team, and he's still a Hall of Famer already.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, can't argue with any of those. I'm going to use baseball real quick, and I'm going to go current baseball. I'm going to get two, and they play for the same team.
I know
which is amazing. It's amazing when you can play probably two of the best players.
Let's just take a wild guess. JB, let me just play a few questions with you.
Okay.
Are they an American League team?
Most definitely.
Do they wear the color red?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
I was going to say Aaron Judge. I thought you were going to say Aaron Judge.
Oh, no. Well, Aaron Judge. No. I know it. And JB, let me ask one last question. Do they play on the other side of the country from all of us in California?
They're closest to Dave.
Yep. I know who it is, and take the spotlight, man. I just wanted to see if I was right.
Ohtani and Trout. OT is not going anywhere until Ohtani leaves, and Trout either leaves or,
retires is one of the greatest.
Or they get a new owner.
Yeah.
Or they get a new owner. But,
that's not going to fix it.
To have two phenomenal, literally best in the game type players on the same
and Mike
team.
Trout specifically has been.
You're just wasting
it's
their
been worse.
career.
It's been worse for Mike because it's been a lot longer. But
you haven't even been close.
No,
to anything at all. I think he made one playoffs in Trout's career.
One game, like
one
series. Yeah, one game.
It's kind of wild to think about. That it's not just one of the best players, because the last couple of years it's been two of the top. You could say top 5 players of the game. And they do nothing.
Without question, they're top 10 each. Not a question. Nobody can argue. If you don't want to say top 5, I could listen to argument. Top 10 with 100%. You have 2 top 10 players in any sport. At the very least, you should be making the playoffs and hopefully then making noise. It is unfathomable to me that they are so loaded. Look at the Rams, right? When they won the Super Bowl, what do they have? They had one of the best, if not the best, defensive players in Aaron Donald, as well as Von Miller at the time, but Aaron Donald. And they had one of, if not the best offensive player that wasn't a quarterback in Cooper Kupp. And look what happens. They win a Super Bowl. No, that's not always how it works, but when you have top talent like that, you should win. It shouldn't. And especially in the sport of baseball, JB, you talk about it. How many guys do you field in a given game? 9 guys. That's it. That's it. And Ohtani does it all on both ends. At least in football, if you have 2 top talents, you can argue, okay, but there's a lot more than 9 guys on the field. There's a lot more that happens. In baseball,
it's wild.
It's 9 guys. You have 2 out of your 9 players, and pretty much they can play any day because of Ohtani's ability to do everything.
Yes.
And Mike Trout just being Mike Trout. 2 out of 9, which is 22% of your roster that is going to start every day.
Wild.
And you can't make the playoffs.
Imagine if you had 2 LeBron James or 2 Luka Doncic or something like that. And you're just we can't even get close to making the playoffs. Let alone
if you make the playoffs, fine. But you can't even do that.
They've
JT.
They've made the playoffs once.
Yeah,
And that was
and
That's
that
why. Hold
wasn't
on.
even with
That's why in
Ohtani.
that video that JT just put up, Otani had one finger up on his hand. He
and-
was
and-
showing how many times they've combined made the playoffs as an angel.
And
See?
you realize that they're probably going to lose Otani at the end of this year.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
You know,
I mean, the thing is,
It's
I
just-
think they can throw him all the money in the world, and unless Mike
It's not
Trout
gonna
says to him,
matter.
"Man, you got to stay," I can't see him staying. There's
Why
no
would he?
chance.
no,
I wouldn't.
It's absurd.
There's
They're not
100
going
teams I'd
anywhere.
want to go to if I were Otani.
So while we're on baseball, I want to stick on this topic.
Sure.
Spring training just started. We just
Oh.
finally got to games. There's a pitch clock. The Mets were on ESPN today. I'm watching, and I was curious what was going to happen with the pitch clock. It's there in the top section where the score is.
Can't miss it.
It really distracts you from watching the game.
Well,
I'm just confused. It's baseball. The beauty of baseball is there's no time.
Yep,
just
it's the
play.
only sport.
time is
It's the
just
only-
whatever.
It's like the
know-
only team sport where it's not timed.
I
Look,
mean, I get you can't be excessive with standing there for an hour, but if you took 35 seconds once, it doesn't happen every pitch. What the?
you know what? I'm cool with saying we need to speed baseball up a little bit. I'm not opposed to it. I don't need it. I'm not against it, but this is just ridiculous. Automatic balls and strikes. It's just the one thing that's going to bother me the most is pitchers and batters have a rhythm that they need to be in before an at bat. This is going to throw that off completely. If baseball wants to be better, I hate to say it, juice the baseballs. They already
have a
do it
question.
probably, but hold on, but juice the baseballs because why do people watch? They want offense. They
Or
want
just let them
exciting
take
stuff.
steroids
Jake.
and turn your head. Or
Sure,
let 'em
I
do
love
it.
that. Yeah,
Jake, you have a 3-2 count, bottom of the eighth.
it
in a
already
meaningful
Bottom
happened.
of the
game.
ninth.
No, in
Yeah.
a meaningful game in September.
Yeah,
You're batting. The third base coach gives you the sign. You miss it because
because you have to get in the batter's box.
You're nervous, right? You're nervous. You got to get in the batter's box. You miss the sign. You want to step out and get it.
You can't.
Strike 3, you're out. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and
This
see
is
that's
absurd.
What happens if
JB
what happens if it's Game 7 of the World Series, last
Yeah,
pitch of the World Series, and
think-
this happens?
I think
And this is
JB
how
makes
the
a-
World
makes-
Series ends.
Yeah,
What
you make a
happens
phenomenal
then?
point, though. I think I hadn't considered that in that way necessarily. I knew I'd thought about it. Oh, JT, what
What's
are you
up,
doing
man?
here?
I'd like to
Okay, brother,
join in
Yeah,
as
please,
a advocate.
Absolutely. Take
Work
the
for the
floor.
Harrisburg
Just go
Senators,
for it.
So
Yeah.
You
please
want to
tell
give
me.
us?
So I'm gonna try and stay as unbiased as possible. Like I said, I'm just a baseball head, so I'm just gonna drop some facts.
Let's hear
I
it.
saw a tweet today that was a side-by-side compilation of a spring training game from probably yesterday or something.
Sure.
They played an entire half inning of baseball. Next to it was one pitch of what I believe was the World Series,
Oh,
the
yeah.
Dodgers and the Astros.
I've
I
seen
forget
this.
who it
Yeah.
was. I don't know the players. But it
Doesn't
was
matter.
a side-by-time, real time, and there was an entire half inning of baseball played in the 1 minute and 50-second clip of one pitch happening in the World Series.
Happens.
So,
Two
did you
kickoffs.
did you see JT? Did you see the other video? They showed that same clip, and then they showed Jose Altuve hit 7 inside the park home
Yeah,
runs
I've seen that as
before
well.
that guy threw one pitch in the World Series.
Yeah.
7
it's
inside
crazy.
the
So-
park home runs.
So
But that's
obviously,
not normal.
considering that's the World Series, there has to be a middle ground because the biggest moments you deserve to have a little bit more time to get yourself
Right.
ready and get yourself
Yes.
set for the pitch.
Yeah.
So there's gonna be a middle ground. I would assume that there's gonna be some umpires' discretion and stuff. But as John mentioned, I've been working for the Senators for a couple of years at the Nationals affiliate team, and they started doing the pitch clock stuff last year to kind of implement it and see what it was like. And I liked it. All the games were a lot shorter. I'd say on average they were around 2 hours or 2.5 hours or so. Definitely down a considerable amount. And that's definitely what the MLB is trying to do. So
Now let me
it's
ask you
going to hit
this.
some things. It's going to miss some things for sure. It's
Now-
just going to
now,
take some time to edge out.
Something because you were working for the Senators, so you might not have noticed this. When you go to a game and you're waiting, because we all know how long it takes to wait for a hot dog and a beer or whatever you're trying to get. You go in the middle of an inning or in between innings, it's taking a while. If these innings are super fast,
How do
You're
you
going
get
to miss a
food?
lot of time waiting for a hot dog, some nachos, and a drink, man. By the time you come back, you miss like an inning or two because, it does take a while.
Yeah.
So what happens if you miss a bunch of the game because you're waiting
You
for
missing it.
food?
You missing
I mean,
an
I
inning or
so
two
sad.
regular pitching.
I see your guys' point, but from an
See what I'm saying?
overall like fan base perspective, you've got kids, you've got old people who don't want to be there.
What if you
until
gotta
Well, then
10:30.
don't go to the game.
What if you
If
got to
you're
go
a baseball fan,
Don't go.
if you're a
There's both
baseball
sides
fan,
of
this
every
is
coin,
absurd.
you know.
You're right.
Absurd.
You're right.
I don't like it. That's it.
So
I
if you have
agree.
if you have to go to
look,
the bathroom really bad, boom, you just
pee your
miss like
pants.
2 innings.
Listen,
You know
if we
what,
could
John? You got
we
two
could
options.
shorten up-
Actually, I'll give you 3 options.
Sit in the
Piss your
trough.
pants, wear a diaper, pee in a bottle or a cup. That's your option.
See, now I'm
Take it or leave it.
uncomfortable.
Well,
Now I
John-
just would rather do this at home.
John,
Stop,
take it
stop.
or leave it.
We're gonna cut down basketball. We're gonna play till 11 half court, so the game lasts 15 minutes, and then we don't have to worry about guys taking days
Yeah.
off with
All right. We got 20 seconds, so we have to wrap, unfortunately. Everybody, JT, we'll start with you very, very quickly.
Jake Taylor 123 on Twitter.
Perfect, John.
We haven't even gotten to the vampire in basketball, trying to make a point.
All right, JB.
JB _ the program. Watch tomorrow. Lots
Beautiful.
more shows.
Jake _ Malik, and then everything across the bottom of the screen. On that note, everybody have a good one.
Later.